Brad, great to see you again.
Good to be here.
Wonderful. So, you and I have talked before. You're a serial entrepreneur, right? You love building companies. You've got ideas going on all the time. But tell me about Uptake. How is Uptake different than some of the other companies that you've built?
I'm proud of all the companies that we've been building, but Uptake has a unique opportunity to affect the way the world works. Because from my perspective and the whole Uptake team's perspective, the world can work without breaking. The world can be even more productive. There's an opportunity to literally create more energy and create more activity from the assets we've already invested in. So the difference of Uptake versus most other businesses that I've seen is that we're using technology to find the furthest frontiers of efficiency and productivity and reliability, and that really will make the world a better place.
What about the prior experiences you've had? I mean, how have that shaped your idea for Uptake?
What Uptake does is combine the experience of business building, technology creation, and industry disruption, and it takes it to a different level. The deployment of that one platform of technology across currently 8 different industries is one of the reasons Uptake is so unique, that we're realizing efficiencies of technology platform deployment, application development, data science efficiency and insight. We're realizing efficiencies that have not been realized before, all for the service of global industry. So what's happening at Uptake is at a scale, is at a depth that I have yet to experience, and that's what makes this such a unique company.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about the different industries you're working with. Who are they? What are they?
So we are in industries as diverse as aviation and locomotives and rail, as diverse as oil and gas and mining. So
have you ever worked with these industries before?
I've had involvement with these industries, but look, my job as an entrepreneur is to be constantly learning and constantly finding patterns from my experience and also from what I'm seeing in the future. And so the depth of the engagement right now that Uptake and myself have in these industries is a different level, a level of impact and involvement that's new, but that's our job, is to take risk and try to see what's over the horizon and do what today might be new, but what very soon will be expected.
So what's been most surprising then, Brad, when you're working with these industries, these new customers? You've been involved before, but not to this level. What's been most surprising?
What's surprising is the realization by our customers, which are in most cases large, multinational, global businesses, that an entrepreneurial company, that a 1,000-person team of technologists and engineers and data scientists can affect global multinational companies. So it's the digestion. What's surprising to them at first is the fact that we at Uptake can create the kind of impact that we are. Because I think historically, decades ago, you might say, well, you've got to be a huge company to deliver output and insight to another huge company. Well, in fact, today, with technology as it is, especially with the kind of speed at which we operate, you got to be exactly right about us. This is the right size in terms of 1,000 people to affect 100,000 person companies' output and productivity. It is totally laser focused on creating outputs and more productivity and reliability for our customers, and that's what matters.
Following on that, Brad, you talk to any CEO, any entrepreneur, they're always going to say that their company is very different. They're the only ones doing this in this space, but there's got to be competitors out there. So how do you differentiate Uptake from other competitors?
The headline is speed and purpose. This is not one thing that we do in a portfolio. Industrial insight and predictive analytics is not part of some broader vision. It is our vision. Beyond that, some of the points of competitive differentiation really is the network effects that come from our scale. Because what happens with the industrial insight world is that once you start delivering insights and understanding how they actually live in the real world, your insights can get more finely tuned. Because when we tell a locomotive operator that the locomotive should not be launched because it's going to break in 4 days, and they send it to the shop, we also get information from the shop about what happened. And so with time, we get more precise and impactful with our products, and therefore our products become more valuable for the next client. So there's a flywheel effect that's part of Uptake that differentiates us from competitors based upon the advantage of having that singular focus.
Where did you get the idea for Uptake? Where did this come from?
The idea for Uptake is partly pattern recognition and partly a fun story. I mean, the pattern recognition is that sensors are everywhere and they're just like chips. So I have an understanding about what happens when sensors are everywhere. It means there's now nerve endings on all of industry. There's the pattern recognition of what happens when the cloud offers very low-cost storage. It lets you do more and better data science faster. And there's the pattern of what happens when connectivity through satellites and mobile technology, when connectivity is global. So that's pattern recognition. The story is as simple as going to pick up my daughter from the airport and her plane being delayed because they didn't have the right part at the right time. That airplane, before it got to LA, could have told the crew on the ground through the signals on the airplane, the ground crew could have known what was about to happen and what part was needed. But the plane didn't have Uptake's technology on it. But basically, this is way back when, and I said, you know what, there doesn't need to be a delay anymore. Planes should not be broken and be sitting on the ground waiting for a part. The part should be ready, and therefore there should not be these sort of delays. So it was part of a reactionary company that was trying to address a problem, and part of the company was taking advantage of 25 years of accumulated experience.
That's great. I love it, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they find their ideas through pain points, right? And that certainly sounds like a big pain point.
Things should not break. That's the basic pain point.
Exactly. Now you mentioned, applying Uptake and the technologies to different industries. What about also for social good as well? Are you working on that aspect too?
The opportunity at Uptake to take our platform and our data science acumen and do good for the world is, to me, perhaps the highest form of philanthropy. It's a great thing to build a playground. I think for Uptake, it's an even greater thing to do what we do well, but do it for the greater good. So we're doing it right now, for example, on the border of Nepal. We're using our Uptake platform and our tools to address human trafficking and give the border agents a better predictive insight about what person might be in the act of human trafficking at that moment. We're also using it to help inner city high school students better understand what college is appropriate for them, using all the information about that student in relation to the college and how that college might be appropriate for the young adults. So part of our role at Uptake is to, if you will, democratize our platform in service of great social causes.
Brad, let's talk a little bit about you and your leadership and management style and how you've built these companies and manage your great team. So describe your management style to us.
My management style is, number one, very open, very candid, very transparent. And it's also, I focus on the reason, on the why. Because I think if people understand the philosophy and the framework of what we as a company do and how you as an individual matter to the day-to-day and long-term story of Uptake, you will better understand your purpose and your meaning. I think that people are in search in their lives of purpose and meaning. And so the beauty of life comes when you realize that what you do matters in a big way. And I think we're very clear at Uptake about why what we do matters, and beyond that, why who you are within Uptake matters.
Interesting. So how do you encourage that? You mentioned the transparency, right? The openness, the asking of questions. How do you encourage that among your people?
I demonstrate my sense of purpose and also my sense of curiosity on a consistent basis. So one of the things that I do is I write a letter to the entire company every Sunday night. So now that started when we were a pretty small company. But the idea that I had way back then was it's a wonderful way to communicate consistently what's on my mind, who I am, and where we as an enterprise are going. And as we've grown, it's become invaluable as a tool, if you will, to allow a lot of people on our team to get to know who I am, and it sort of draws out from them the comfort to share with their teams who they are.
How do you encourage people to take risks?
Well, the best way to encourage risk-taking is to be a risk-taker, and therefore lead by example. but it's not like we are taking reckless risks. Risk-taking is a great and powerful source of a company's tenacity if it's done responsibly and if it's done with purpose. So risk-taking is something we should all be doing at Uptake. We should be doing it in a contained framework so that the downside is well understood, and then we should be very quick to understand when the risk did not work, and hopefully do two things. Number one, learn from what happened during that process of taking a risk, and two, commit that it will never happen again.
Now, a lot of people watching this also are thinking, are a lot of younger viewers, and they always look to people like you and say, what kind of advice would you give me as I'm building my career? So, if you were talking to younger people, what would you say? What would you tell them? What would you tell yourself, your younger self, that might help those viewers? So,
one of my mentors for the last 30 years is Sam Zell. He was the one who first said to me, "Take what you do extraordinarily seriously. Do not take yourself that seriously." And that type of wisdom is very applicable to pretty much everything in life. I would also say it's not about your resume or even your grades per se. It's about what you did. It's about the actual engagement in life, in engagement in opportunity, about your resourcefulness in doing more than what's asked of you and creating solutions or ideas.
Tell me where you see Uptake in 3 years, 3 to 5 years. Where do you see this company?
Well, right now Uptake is in 6 continents. We are monitoring assets, as I said, in 8 industries, around the clock. I certainly see, and that being said, I measure our success. I measure our impact by the number of companies that are better because of us and the number of lives that are positively affected because of Uptake's products. And those metrics of company impact and people impact, I see even greater. And I see the depth of our impact, the depth of the efficacy that we deliver to be even more strong and purposeful. So what I see in the next 3 years for Uptake is growth of number of industries and also depth of impact within those industries.
When you think of rewriting tomorrow, what comes to mind?
Rewriting tomorrow is about helping the transition between what's possible today and what will be commonplace tomorrow. How do we get there most efficiently with the least human disruption, but the most positive industry disruption? And so rewriting tomorrow is about being bold. It's about not looking about the way things are, but understanding that your role is to define and execute on the way things should be. And rewriting tomorrow is also about having the conviction of what you don't just see with your eyes, but what you feel in your gut. Because I think that we talk about having a gut feeling. It's an underappreciated sense. Understanding what your life experience makes you feel about tomorrow is often a better way to understand what to do to create a better tomorrow. So I'm very focused on what's next, on being one of the change agents at Uptake to create what's next, and doing so mindful that we have a lot of businesses and industries and workers to bring along that journey. And if we can make all of those better, businesses better, society better, and the people on the front lines of industry, make them better and more well-equipped to be part of tomorrow, then we will write a pretty powerful and impactful story.
Love it. Thank you so much, Brad.